Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we are diving straight in today, and I gotta tell ya, we're going to completely flip the way you think about money. I want to kick things off by throwing a simple financial riddle your way. It's a scenario that almost everyone gets wrong purely because we've all been trained to look at the exact wrong numbers. But by the end of our time today, you'll know exactly how to calculate your JAB. A single, absolutely vital metric that separates the people who are genuinely building wealth from those who are just putting on a really good show. So, here's the riddle. Picture two people. The first one spends $90,000 a year. The second one spends $40,000 a year. Now, just based on that, who's actually doing better financially? If you ask a room full of folks this question, they will almost always confidently point to the second person. The logic seems totally bulletproof, right? Spend less, win more. But as it turns out, almost everyone is wrong. Let's break down why. We'll call our $90,000 spender Marcus. He's got a newer car in the driveway, a mortgage on a nice big house, and great health insurance. By every visible signal, Marcus is living large, and we probably assume he's living beyond his means. Then we have Derek, our $40,000 spender. He drives an older, paid-off car, lives in a smaller place, and faithfully clips coupons. Our eyes naturally play tricks on us here. We judge Derek as the responsible one. We just assume the frugal guy's winning.
Section 1. The invisible spending trap. Judging by the surface. All right, let's look at the actual math that nobody else saw. Marcus? Well, he earns a high income and brings home about $117,000 after taxes. He spends $90,000. That means quietly, behind the scenes, without anyone watching, he is stashing away $27,000 a year. Derek, on the flip side, brings home about $37,000 after taxes. He spends $40,000, which means Derek isn't setting anything aside. He is actually falling $3,000 into debt every single year. The big spender is winning, the saver is losing. And this hits the nail right on the head for our entire explainer. Spending is visible, and the gap is not. You can absolutely see Marcus's shiny new car, but you literally cannot see the $27,000 he never spent. You can see Derek's coupons, but you can't see the $3,000 of debt he quietly takes on every year. We are constantly grading our own financial health against our neighbors, but honestly, we're ranking ourselves using the one piece of information that lies to us. Section 2. The illusion of average. A broken measuring stick. So, if we can't judge ourselves against what other people are spending, what do we usually do? Well, most of us turn to the average. According to recent national data, the average American household spends $78,535 a year. That's roughly $6,500 a month. And, aiming for that feels like the grounded, responsible thing to do. If your spending matches that number, it feels like a safe, sensible middle ground, right? Let's actually break down where that average money goes. Housing takes a massive 33% chunk, a full third of everything. Add in transportation at 17% and boom, just the roof over your head and the car in the driveway gobble up over half of every single dollar. It paints a picture of a totally real, normal household. But actually, scratch that, it's a complete mirage. When you really pull the data apart and split households into 5 equal income brackets, you'll see almost nobody actually spends that average $78,000. The lowest group spends around $35,000, while the top tier is dropping $150,000. That national average, it's basically a mathematical accident. It's what you get when you mash together a household scraping by on $35,000 with one spending $150. It describes absolutely no one in particular. Which brings us to a pretty grim reality. 3 in 5 households spend more than they bring home after taxes. Let that sink in. If you're comparing yourself to the average and feeling good about it, well, understand what you're actually doing. You are finding comfort in a crowd where the majority of people are quietly sinking. Average is not the finish line. For most households, average is completely underwater. Section 3, the power of the gap, the number that matters. So we need to throw away that broken ruler. The number that tells you whether you're winning is not what you spend, and honestly, it's not even what you earn. It's the gap, the precise distance between your real take-home pay and your total spending. This invisible space is the only thing that matters. The gap is what compounds. It's the magic dust that turns into paid-off houses, growing investment accounts, and cushy retirements. Everything else is just money that leaves and doesn't come back. Let's make this super clear. Remember Derek, our low earner who spends very little but has a $0 gap? Well, meet Eric. Eric pulls in $200,000, but he spends heavily on nice cars and lavish vacations. Because his spending swelled right up to swallow his massive income, Eric also has a $0 gap. High earning and extreme frugality can dump you in the exact same zero growth bucket. Marcus, sitting right in the middle, is the only one actually winning because he's the only one protecting his gap.
Now, a quick aside on fairness here, because context is absolutely crucial. The lowest earners spend 42% of their money just on housing alone, leaving maybe 2% for savings. The highest earners, they spend only 29% of a much bigger budget on housing, so they can easily route 18% into savings. A 20% gap is way, way harder on a small income because basic necessities eat up the budget before you even have a choice. So you have to measure your gap against what's actually achievable at your specific income level.
Section 4. How to calculate your gap. A 3-step action plan. Okay, enough theory. Let's make this highly actionable and get to the core focus of our explainer. Here are the exact 3 steps to calculate your gap. Step 1, find your take-home pay. And please listen carefully. Never ever use your gross salary for this. If you do, you're counting money that was never yours to begin with. It went straight to taxes. Only use the money that actually hits your bank account. Step 2, subtract all of your spending for the year. And step 3, divide that leftover number by your take-home pay. That gives you your savings rate percentage. Let's run through it out loud with a quick example, just so there's zero mystery left. Say you take home $60,000 in a year, again, after taxes. Over that same year, between rent, the car, groceries, the whole shebang, you spent $54,000. $60,000 minus $54,000 leaves you with a gap of $6,000. Divide that $6,000 by your $60,000 take-home, and boom, you've got a solid 10% savings rate.
Now, why does tracking this specific percentage matter more than literally any budgeting trick you've ever heard? Because if that same person can stretch their gap from a 10% savings rate to a 20% savings rate, pure magic happens. Over 30 years, with a reasonable return, that single 10-point shift is the difference between arriving at retirement with just a little bit of cushion versus kicking back with well over $1 million.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to really chew on. Are you measuring yourself against the crowd, or are you obsessing over your gap? If your gap is 0 or below, you are going backwards no matter how frugal you are or how high your salary gets. Stop staring at your neighbor's new car. Stop finding comfort in the national average. Focus relentlessly on that quiet, invisible distance between what you keep and what you spend. Because that, my friends, is where true wealth is built. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.